Hi there. My name is Craig Peterson. I'm the Associate Conference Minister for Congregational Development in the Central Atlantic Conference. I'm here tonight in Indianapolis, Indiana, for the 34th General Synod of the United Church of Christ. I'm not here alone, however, for not only are there over 773 delegates and visitors, but we have several from our own beloved conference, the Central Atlantic. So tonight, as we start our conversation, as we think back on day 3, I'm going to ask our two delegates who are here tonight to take just a moment and introduce themselves by giving us their name, their local church, the association in which that church is found, and finally, if they've been to General Synods before. So with that, Terry, would you go ahead and get us started by introducing yourself?
Yes, good evening. I'm Terri Bright, and I'm with New Hope United Church of Christ out of Washington, D.C., and we are in the Potomac Association. And this is my first in-person synod, and this is my first in-person synod and my second synod. The first one was virtual.
Great. Thanks so much for introducing yourself, Terry. And Bethany, would you go next?
Sure thing. Hi, my name is Bethany Fuss. I use she, her pronouns. I go to the UCC of Seneca Valley in Germantown, Maryland, which is part of the Potomac Association. So yay, Potomac Association. And this is also my first in-person General Synod, other than one when I was a baby. And I also served online as a delegate in 2021.
Beautiful. I love it. I'm from the Jersey Association. So we have Jersey and Potomac tonight. And last night we had Chesapeake with us. So I love to see the delegates from the various parts of the conference together. So to get ready for tonight, I asked our delegates to think about a couple questions that I gave in advance because to their credit, we are at the 15-hour mark of their day. They started their day together at 6:30 a.m. and it's now 9:30 p.m. So kudos for your staying power. So the first question I have for the delegates is, you've had a chance to be together for 2 or 3 days now with delegates from all over the country. And I'm wondering that as you've been with other delegates and seen how other people experience and do church, what has stood out for you about the ways in which the Central Atlantic Conference has its own unique way of being church? What makes us feel a little different and special, if you would? And you can go in either order, whoever would like to get us started.
I can go ahead and start.
Okay.
I think one thing that's really stood out to me, and I mean, also on the national level, but especially on the conference level, as I've gotten to talk to people, is the genuine curiosity in youth ministries and in how to engage youth. And as a young person myself, that definitely means a lot to me. And just the pure excitement of having a young person has been really nice because from a personal standpoint, people will see me and say, "Oh, you're a young person, that's so exciting." And so that in our conference, that's been really nice and has been a common theme through a lot of individuals that I've spoken with.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Bethany. It is great to have you. Terry, how about you? What in your experience makes the Central Atlantic Conference seem a bit distinct?
For me, it's been the excitement. And I think I'm speaking for everyone that I've been with. We, from the Central Atlantic District, everybody just seems to be so excited. I'm not sure if it's just being back in person or what it is, but everyone's excited to be together. The fellowship of just being together. When COVID hit, so many of us we were apart, and now we're back together as a whole. I think that's what I'm really excited about.
Great. One thing for me to jump in and answer that own question as well is, this morning as we were gathering, we heard that not every conference is able to support their delegates and make it possible financially for them to come. And so it was just really exciting to see what great lengths our conference has gone to in order to make sure that everyone who feels called to be here can be here. And so there's so much with which we've been blessed. So the second question is has to do with some things that we started working on today that we hadn't done in the previous days together. And that is we started working on our committee assignments and the resolutions that were attached to. Now, I'm going to ask, before we get into the second question that I texted, if you take just a moment and tell us about the resolution that you have been assigned to in committee. And again, we can go in any order, Bethany or Terry, whoever would like to speak first about their resolution.
Okay, I'm on committee 13, which is the transgender non-binary committee.
Great.
And when I tell you so much has come out of that, I'm sorry. I get choked up.
No, nothing to apologize for. The emotion's beautiful.
It's so surreal that people in the world are not willing to accept others for who they are. Let's be authentic and be who we are. We should not be able to sit and judge and not accept people for who they are. God loves us all. When I look at anyone walking down the street or wherever, that's a person that God loves. Let's love everyone.
Yes. Thank you so much for that summary. At a time when our transgender siblings have been under attack in so many arenas, legislatively and physical safety, it's so great to see our church express their support and their presence. Bethany, how about you? What resolution or committee have you been assigned to?
I was assigned to Committee 14, which is working on the resolution calling for the UCC to and churches to become white supremacy-free zones. And so there was a process of adding some things into there today, which I thought was really interesting. But the resolution itself basically, as it says in the title, really calls on churches to denounce the idolatry, as we really talked about today in committee, of white supremacy through action, and to really pick it apart. And we've reflected some on the church's history and part in that, and seeing that there's a lot of work to do in terms of education and action and reflection. And so the Potomac Association has a curriculum that it has piloted with a couple churches that it is providing as a way for churches, as one way for churches to go through that process, and to really dismantle is the biggest word that we've been using, to really dismantle that idolatry of white supremacy.
Beautiful.
Right.
So one of my passions in this project has been to help us take the General Synod experience and bring it back to our local churches so that Synod doesn't end on the 4th of July, but that its spirit carries forward. So as a follow-up, now that you've let us know what your committees are working on, one thing that struck me is these are difficult issues that for some folks to talk about in our society. And what I'm curious about is, as you had the conversations today and went through this process, what skills or what things did you see at use that could be taken from Indianapolis and brought back to our local churches to make it more likely that they could tackle sensitive topics?
Well, one thing we discussed is a safe place for the transgender, LGBTQ communities. A lot of them, they're not safe. They don't feel safe. So I think with the church being accepting to all of them, that would give them a place of safety.
Yes.
When they come to the church, they know that we're not there to not physically beat them up, but to mentally beat them up. We're going to love them for who they are.
Yeah.
That's one thing and getting help for them, because a lot of them, they can't get insurance. So the church is a place I think they can go and get physical, financial help that they need.
Great. And Terri, I don't know, maybe I'm guessing or reading this in, but when you talk about the importance of safe space, I would guess that you had individuals sharing stories or experiences or testimonies, if you will, and how important it is for our churches to create space where that can happen safely.
Yes, exactly. I mean, because we even had there's someone who wanted to be here with us this week, but she's afraid to travel.
Yeah.
So that's why she could not be here with us in person, because she's afraid to travel.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful. It puts the work in perspective and reminds us why we're doing it.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Terri. Bethany, how about for you? As you talked about the declaration of white supremacy-free zones, what did you see going on in the room in terms of how it was addressed and handled that you thought, I could learn from this and I could bring this back home to my church?
Yeah, I definitely learned so much through that committee process. And I'd like to just make a side note that I find all of the processes and committees and meetings super interesting. So it's
Wow.
made me very happy the past couple of days. So even 15-hour days are fun for me.
Wow.
And I absolutely love it. And I'm so excited to be here. But anyhow, to answer your question, I found it really interesting that there was safe space to disagree and to be uncomfortable in disagreeing sometimes, but to really make space for that, which I think in a lot of local churches we're maybe afraid of doing because we're all friends most of the time. So we I think it was really powerful to have that space and to really be able to contextualize everything from exactly where we're coming from, because there's no way that all of us know each other's stories because we're coming from so many different places and don't necessarily all know each other. So I think sometimes to contextualize your perspective with exactly where you're coming from, even if people know you, but just kind of to restate it is really powerful and is something that I think really contributed to the efficiency of our committee today, because as we know, committees can be not so efficient sometimes, but I'm very grateful that I think our committee was very efficient today.
Yeah. And you used two words or concepts that I think are so critical in all of the various committees. One is context, because whatever it is we're talking about, whether it's race or gender or sexual identity, that we all come at that from a different perspective. And by reminding each other and putting it into context, you said that well. And the other thing that I thought you said well, Bethany, as well, was that you talked about, even when safe space is created, there's going to be moments when we're uncomfortable as we hear what other people need to say. And Terri, I see you affirming that. I'm sure that was a part of your committee experience too.
Yes.
Yeah. So boy, your reflections are doing exactly what I was hoping for, which is bringing that spirit of the committee room back to our local churches. So the last area specifically I wanted to explore with you as it relates to the congregational development in life is the worship experiences we've had over these last couple days. Not just today, but they started Friday and have been peppered throughout as well. What I'd like you to just start by talking about is what those worship experiences have been like for you, And if you want to include maybe what you feel like you'd like to bring back to our local churches in order to keep that general spirit alive. So how's worship been for you?
I can start this one. When I looked at the questions, this is probably the one that I thought of an answer to first. But I've really loved all the engagement in so many different ways, namely music. I know that lots of thought and planning goes into the music at General Synod. And I really love how it's specifically like a constant presence, really. It's not just we have this song and this hymn and this response. It's really like it really bleeds into the next thing, which I think is really beautiful, and is really used to intertwine and to lead into everything. And I love how excited people get about not just about the music, but about everything. And how they like really show it. So to be in a room with so many other people who with all the amens, with all the applause, with and to really know that you're surrounded by people who really share those views, especially during reflections of such power, and really bringing it back to that context, to why we really are grounded in faith and do what we do, and feel called to do what we do. So yeah, I think that the music and the just general spirit is fantastic, because everyone is just so excited to be here. And it's awesome to be surrounded by so many people with similar enthusiasm, which often on Sunday mornings maybe isn't a constant thing, because not everybody's always going to have all that enthusiasm every Sunday, and that's okay.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that reflection, Bethany. Terri, how about for you? How has worship been for you?
Oh, it's been an experience. I can start with Friday and today, and it has overwhelmed me in a great way. To piggyback on what Bethany just said, the excitement, the hallelujahs, the amens, the waving of the hands, the dancing in the aisles, it's just so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, when you think 2,000 people in one building, and everybody's praising and worshiping and enjoying the worship experience in their own way, whether, it's just wonderful. And in these days and times that we are in now, it's easy for someone to just sit back and be a spectator, not participate in what's going on, but to see how everyone is worshiping in their own way has just been wonderful. The tears, the excitement, the joy that we are all sharing under one roof as one is just wonderful. It's just wonderful. It's exciting. It makes me excited and glad to just be here for my first in-person Synod. I'm just so excited.
I love it.
So excited.
And what I appreciate about what both of you said in your reflections, when we talk about worship, we'll often think of only the elements that the worship leaders are doing, but both of you really lifted up the responses of the congregation, and the fact that worship isn't just a passive experience that we watch, but it's something that we make together. And I was thinking today, all of the services, but today's especially, that the preaching and the prophetic tones, they really did a remarkable job of speaking to what's happening in the world, and letting the congregation know that they see the struggles and the pain, and call us to address that and try to participate in the transformation and healing of that. So we could be here all night just talking about that third question.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, as we end tonight, I just thought I like to do this every evening, just kind of open it up and say, before we sign off this evening, is there anything in particular that you'd like to share with our siblings back home in the Central Atlantic Conference about the experience?
Oh, yes.
Great. Jump
Yes.
in, Terry.
I just want to share with everyone, if you have not come to a General Synod, please get a water bottle, start saving, and get here, because it's knowledge, it's worship, it's making new friendships, it's making new connections. And just remember, the work is not only inside the walls of the church, we have to go outside of the church and start working as well. We have to.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. And Bethany, how about you? What final words would you have for us?
Yeah, I would really echo that, that the connection to the national setting is very powerful, and meaningful. And I'd also like to echo that I'm very very grateful to be in such a fortunate conference, to have lots of resources to go to General Synod, because it definitely opens a lot of doors for a lot of people, especially as an incoming college student myself. I really appreciated that it was very accessible, and I've really loved my experience. And so I think one of the biggest things is that even things on the local church and the association and conference level do matter, and do go into the national setting, and getting involved in any way is really powerful, and really leads to having some connections, and even just like one familiar face at Synod, and it shows you like, hey, I'm actually pretty involved, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think the UCC is just such an incredible denomination in terms of being able to get involved. So I would say, even if you don't think you know a whole lot about the UCC, definitely get involved, and especially if you're a young person, because they're so excited about young people. And so if you're interested in, especially if you're a young person, I think it's just an incredible opportunity, and really nurturing, and just an incredible experience. So I'd encourage everyone to go if they're able, or to continue to support those who do, and ask them about it, because people that go to Synod want to do nothing but talk about it.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
my family will have to deal with a lot of Synod conversations for the coming weeks.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
It's an incredible experience, and I have absolutely loved every second of it.
And I think I'll close tonight by Bethany was talking about the connection between each of the settings of the church, and it was just about a little over 15 hours now when, on the eve of her election to become the first woman and first person or woman of African descent to step into the position of president and general minister, Reverend Dr. Karen Georgia Thompson was with us this morning. And, and she could have settled for addressing the entire group on Friday night or a breakout session on Saturday, but she cared enough to go to each of the conferences that we're meeting and spend some time. So that really shows how vital and alive our connections are. So with that, I will encourage you to check back tomorrow, as we will have our third and final interview with delegates. But tonight, I want to, in particular, thank Bethany and Terry for being so generous with their time at the end of a very, very long day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Okay. Bye.